Gee whiz, it is getting really hot right now with these Payne Haas rumours. What is he going to do? Is he going to be staying with the Broncos? Is he going to be keeping up with his contract? Does the NRL have the ability to prevent him from leaving? What is R360? I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, is it actually legitimate? Like, what's actually happening? I'm sure it is legitimate, but how sustainable is it? There are so many questions that are being asked about this situation, but we're going to dive right on into it today, guys. So, hey guys, how you going? Today on BK Sport, we are going to talk all things Brisbane Broncos, Payne Haas, and R360, and not even just Brisbane Broncos, just the NRL in general, because this is a really big situation. Peter V'landys and the NRL can, try and talk their way out of it to tell people to not be afraid of what could potentially happen here, or to not be nervous is probably the right words, because this is a nerve-wracking situation. It does seem like R360 does mean business, and they do seem to have quite a bit of money behind their investors. But we do have a couple of questions here today that we are going to be discussing about the recent Payne Haas rumours, where he's linked with a major R360 move and rumoured $3 million plus per season. Now, with Payne Haas, he is currently off contract end of 2026 with the Brisbane Broncos, reported $1.2 million per season until TV rights deal in 2028 bumps it up to $1.5 million. So that number is obviously far shorter than what he can be offered in R360, which is why this is a genuine discussion that needs to be had, especially with the fact that he only has one more year left in his contract. And we've actually been here before with Payne, but just internally within the NRL, where he was requesting a release back in, I think it was 2022 maybe, to go to the Roosters or whatever the rumours were. I remember the Broncos fans were booing him. I was there at a Broncos versus Titans game at Suncorp Stadium. I think it was one of those comeback games where the Titans just completely fell off when they're up like 24-0 or something like that. It was ridiculous. Anyway, that was just me ranting about my own team for a second. But I remember this was a situation with Payne where he wasn't necessarily going to stay with the Broncos. Ultimately, he did, and ultimately he has gone and won the premiership, which is amazing, which is a pro and a con here for the Broncos in a lot of ways, because the pro is that they've won it. They can go and do it again. They've obviously shown Payne that their system and their development has proven to be right behind him, and they've been able to go and get the job done. But the con is for Payne Haas that, well, he's won it now. He has won it. Now, there is still Samoa, where he hasn't won it for, and I guess there's a lot left on the table in regards to Origin overall, because New South Wales do seem to struggle beating Queensland consistently. But what more is there to prove for Payne Haas individually now in the NRL that he has got that premiership, and now there is only one more year left on his contract, and with that one more year, when he gets his new deal, it's going to be far less superior than what we are seeing here from R360. So the con is that, look, he's done what he's needed to do. Does he want to continue on with this legacy and be the greatest front row forward that this game has ever seen? Or will he leave and get his payday now that he's got the job done? That's the biggest question that I ask about that. But the 2026 end of 2026 is definitely a major worry. The other question that I have here is, what actually is R360? Are they a serious deal? We're going to talk about this because I don't think many people actually know what R360 really is all about. It's just discussions here and there. Let's get into it. So R360 is a proposed global franchise rugby competition. So rugby union, mind you, fronted by Mike Tindall, who was a 2003 Rugby Union World Cup winner with England, even though I don't like talking about that specific game, and a group of investors. The plan is for 8 men's teams and 4 women's teams initially, with a Grand Prix or circuit style, games in major cities around the world: London, Paris, Los Angeles, Tokyo, Sao Paulo, and Brazil, etc. Right, so that's basically, I feel like, why Peter V'landys has decided 2027 in round 1 that they want to try and take it worldwide to give these players the experience that they're going to be experiencing from R360. Well, instead, guess what? You're going to be able to experience this in round 1, and then we're going to keep up with it and see how it goes. So it does look like Peter V'landys is very much nervous right now. Big money offers are reportedly being made. Elite players being offered multi-million-dollar contracts to join, as we are talking about here with Payne Haas. It's not sanctioned by the main governing bodies like World Rugby, and there are still major concerns from clubs and unions, and several national unions, England, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, have issued statements that players who join R360 will likely be ineligible for national team selection under current agreements. So there is a lot of prevention going on here from rugby union itself, because this isn't rugby league. R360 is not a rugby league competition. but Payne Haas would still be massive for rugby union. It'd be a massive, massive coup. Now, the exact launch date, the original date was actually next year in 2026, but sanctioning delays and logistical issues make it uncertain. So right now, there is a lot of uncertainty around this competition, which does lead to a pro for Payne Haas staying, because there's a lot of risk involved with this NRL ban for 10 years, whether it be legally correct or not. There's a lot of legality discussions going on. There is a lot of uncertainty. So you are taking a big risk and potentially not being able to come back. And it's like, well, you are taking a big risk here with the fact that there is already logistical issues and sanction delays. The broadcasting revenue model, major media outlets say R360 have not secured clear broadcasting partners or a proven revenue stream. The legal regulatory implications for players, because it's unsanctioned, players may face bans, contract issues, and international eligibility problems, and fit with existing calendar. How will it coexist with national leagues, international tournaments, player welfare? How is the scheduling going to go? So the reason why I read you that, because it shows that there is a lot of uncertainty, and whilst it seems like this exciting new product, and whilst it can get off the ground, I guess, will it get off the ground? Or is it just basically something that is a dream in a lot of ways, where they can get the investors, but also, is it going to have the support? Anyway, that's a whole conversation for another video. But I just feel like there's way too many uncertainties right now. If I was an NRL player, I would be waiting my time. I'd be biding my time just to see it really pop up. Because if you're good enough, if you're Payne Haas and you're the best player in the game for your specific position, especially a position that would translate to rugby union really, really well, you're going to be like that in 1-2 years' time as well. So I feel like you would want to wait it out. I feel like it is way too risky as we currently speak to make that big change and not really have guarantees about your future, and then have to potentially face a legal battle that you don't even know if you're going to win to get back into the NRL if, push comes to shove. I guess if NRL did ban him, then I guess he could go to rugby, but I don't know what their ramifications and legalities are for if you're even involved with R360 in general. There's just a lot of really hard discussion here to figure out what's going on with this competition. But look, I guess it is exciting, and being all around the world like a Grand Prix circuit, I guess it's like the Rugby Sevens that we do see, but as I guess it will be a 15 style. It didn't say that just before. It does seem really cool, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to go to plan. They've already got logistical situations that they are facing. But I did hear there is talk that you can actually base yourself out of any country, so that can help you tax-wise to even make more money, whilst the money that Payne Haas would be making, I guess, with the Brisbane Broncos would be taxed in Australian, which is decently high. So I guess if that is the case, and that is just completely based off of something that I've read somewhere along the line, so please don't take my word for it, but I believe that you are able to base yourself from a country that doesn't have heavy tax implications and all that kind of jazz, which is another benefit there to R360. Anyway, that's what R360 is. It's a rugby union tournament that they're trying to create like a Rugby 7 style Grand Prix, but for 15s and to make it a big super competition, right? Now, losing a 25-year-old elite prop like Haas would signal they can lure top NRL talent with big money. What would happen if one of the best players in the game, and specifically the best player in his position, said, you know what, this money's too much to turn down. I'm going to go. I'm going to ditch you guys. I'm off. See you later. Well, other players will be like, well, he's accepting the risk. He's taking the concerns and saying, it doesn't matter, I'm going. The players are going to be like, well, this is a genuine option now. And then if R360 comes in, they have the money. Like, they genuinely have the money, especially in a competition of this kind of size in this part of the world. They have money just to throw. And if they're offering $3 million per season for Payne Haas, I'm sure they could offer a ridiculous amount for other players as well, far more than what the NRL can. So if Payne Haas was to leave, R360 would be like, well, we've already got him. We can go and get him. And then he, the guy that they're referring to, has already seen Payne Haas do it. And he's like, well, shit, yeah, I'll do it too. So the ramifications are pretty huge here, where they can kind of poach whoever they want. Some players won't do it, but also some players will be like, you know what, this is absolutely worthwhile. And I've already seen another player take the leap, like we saw with Tonga in 2017, when Andrew Fafita and Jason Tamalolo went across. I know it's a very different situation, But they took the leap, and now we're seeing the benefits of them taking the leap and other players going, you know what, I'm going to go too. So it is a huge, huge risk there. It would signal that pretty much anybody is up for grabs if the right money is there. So it is a massive, massive domino effect. Moving on, we do have that this is all rumors. No official public confirmation that Haas is talking with R360. All is still reported / rumor. Now, is this because of the legalities speaking, or is it just genuinely not happening? Look, I think where there's smoke, there is fire. And too many people are talking about this on such a big level, and you are seeing the NRL and Flanders and whatnot trying to adjust to accommodate, because we are seeing the NRL going more global now, not just Vegas, but they are going more global in 2027. They're trying to get the logistics behind getting all teams to different places around the world for round one. We are seeing the NRL really kind of put forward plans and processes to remove the threat of what R360 can benefit outside of the financials, because they cannot do that. They cannot compete with that kind of money salary cap wise. I don't even know if I'm sure that this other competition doesn't have a salary cap when they're offering players $3 million plus per season. So there's no public confirmation, but the discussion is valid. The discussion needs to be had, because if they are this hot on the heels of the NRL, they are this hot on the heels in general, where there's smoke, there's fire. So 100%, I believe that discussions have been had. I don't know how true everything in the media is coming out, but I do believe that discussions are being had for sure, and this is a genuine possibility. And then the last couple of things is, if Haas honours his 2026 contract, does not sign any deal with R360 until after that contract is fully expired, and perhaps obtains a formal release or is free agent, will that reduce his legal / regulatory risk? And the reason I say this is because the NRL have said 10-year bans for any player that signs with intent to have a contract with R360. So, or is it even discussions? Actually, did they say even discussions? Here we go. So the NRL and the Australian Rugby League Commission have warned that any player who joins or even enters into agreement with R360 risks a 10-year ban from the NRL ARLC sanctioned competition. So it's not just talking with them. It's not just discussing with them. It is an agreement to join, or an actual contract. So he's not in any breach of it now. So it definitely is happening, to be fair. It definitely is happening. Negotiations. According to reports, Haas has met with R360 officials and his management is involved in talks, so they are reportedly paused contingent on meeting his asking price. Yeah. So, and this is the thing, like, this is why you've got to be worried, because it is happening. These discussions are definitely happening. Like, this is all rumors, and especially the recent one saying he's on the verge of $3 million R360 defection. Like, this doesn't mean that it's actually happening, and that could just be sensationalized media reporting. But these discussions are definitely happening. So the reason why I put this out there and say, it's like freedom of trade, right? So once you finish your contract, then surely the NRL, legally speaking, would not be able to reject you from coming back on a freedom of trade, freedom of work. Look, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. So if he was to get to 2026, the end of 2026, and completely finish up his deal, not sign with R360, which is a risk, and also not sign with the Broncos, which is a risk because then you don't have a contract. What if you get injured? Well, now you don't have a contract for next year. So huge risk. Huge concern there. But I guess if you wanted to try and get a potential loophole, wait until the end of your contract. Like, for example, Ryan Pappenhausen was released, so he's now not contracted. So now surely he would be free to negotiate with anybody without any legal ramifications long-term about coming back to the NRL if it all did pan out and he could come back to the NRL. Surely he would be free from legal ramifications. If you're breaking a contract, then sure, I can absolutely understand that. I believe the NRL will be able to uphold that and maintain that. For example, if another Tony Bill Williams situation happened. But if you are completely free of your contract and you're a free agent, I'm sure that there would be no legal ability from preventing him to come back. The only thing that I will say, though, is that whilst legally it may be allowed to come back on that nature, as in after the contract is finished, and then you go and sign, and then you want to come back, whilst the NRL might not legally be able to do anything, there might be a significant amount of pressure put on the clubs to not bring them back. and to set a statement. And especially with a guy like Payne Haas, it would set a statement that if he went and then tried to come back, and then there was too much pressure on the NRL clubs to not allow him to come back kind of deal, or the legality of the ban is upheld. Well, it'll be a huge statement to not let a player of that stature come back. Anyway, my brain's getting confused as we're trying to think about all these contract stipulations and whatnot. But I just feel like, as I said here, the domino effect could be crazy if it does happen. I just think that to wrap everything of my thoughts up here, there's too many risks involved right now. If I was Payne Haas, let me put myself in Payne Haas's shoes. The biggest risk that could happen in 2026 is that Payne Haas doesn't sign a contract with the Broncos and waits to the end of the year to sign a contract with R360 once he is formally a free agent. That is a risk for the 27 games plus finals and plus Origin and plus potentially internationals. But actually, no, internationals won't be on by then. But it is a risk and preseason. So preseason, Origin, and NRL, it would be a risk for him to try and get that legal loophole, because then if he gets injured, then he may not have a contract at all. Touch wood, God bless, it doesn't happen, but say an ACL happened. We have to discuss it. Say an ACL happened. Well, who's to say the Broncos would offer you a contract with an ACL, and then R360 would be completely dead in the water? So if I was Payne Haas, if it's all about the money, if it's all about just making that big splash, I would actually do it now. I wouldn't wait for the loophole. I would do it right this very second. There's no point waiting. It's too much of a risk otherwise, long term. But if you're toing and froing and you're questioning the logistics, the sustainability, the growth factor, is this just a fad kind of deal? Which is kind of what we saw with Sevens. I love Sevens, but Sevens really got red hot and then it really died off. But that maybe the early years will be fine. I feel like if he wants to go and he has the intention, don't wait for the loophole, do it now. Do it right this very second. We'll talk about the legalities later. But if it's not about the money and it's about, well, it has to be about the money to join R360. But if it's not about just the money and he is about his career, his legend status and consistency, I think that I would sign the Broncos contract right now. I don't think there's any point waiting. I don't think there's any point just waiting for the discussion to happen or waiting for a potential injury at training to happen. That's my thoughts. This is a legitimate threat here from R360. If they get him, it is a major coup and the domino effect will be wild. It will be wild. If they don't get him, well, that's a really strong statement from the NRL as well. Strong statement from the NRL. And they may struggle overall R360 if they can't get NRL players, they can't get rugby players because of those threats from Rugby Union. There's going to be one big winner here. Whichever one Payne Haas chooses is going to be one big winner. There is a statement to be made from the NRL if he stays, but there is a statement to be made from R360 if he goes. The domino effect here, there's no real domino effect here. It just means that players are going to stay because they're not going to risk it. So, big discussion. Big discussion. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm really looking forward to seeing what people have to say. Please, if you're a Broncos fan, don't just be biased and say, oh, he's signing. I understand from a fan's perspective, you are just going to be immediately very passionate and loyal to your team, and you're going to be like, no, 100%, he is signing, he's staying, he loves his club, whatever. Look, guys, you don't know these players. You don't know their intentions. You only see what you see in the media. You only see what they say publicly. You don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. This is all just opinion pieces. But if you're just going to say, oh, 100% he loves the club, there's no way that he ever goes kind of deal. We don't know, because he may just genuinely say, you know what, it's time for the money. I've won my premiership. I've done what I've needed to do. Now I'm going to go get paid. And then I'm going to base myself out of a place that has no tax implications and make even more money. And if he can get around that loophole, then maybe he can even potentially come back. I doubt it, though. So that's my thoughts here today. Comment in the comment section your thoughts about everything that's going on. What do you think that he does do? Do you think that the NRL can uphold that ban if it was to go ahead? And do you feel like that loophole is valid? I want you to comment in the comment section right down on now. But guys, if you like this video, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new around here. Posting every day in this off season with news pieces and discussion pieces, because I can't do the live streams for all the live NRL games commentary, which has been a fantastic year. But we do have the Ashes coming up very, very soon with Australia vs England, which will be live for all those days. But I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.